The most powerful border of 2025 was not drawn on land, it was drawn on a screen. And this week, the United States drew that line. 5 Europeans were denied entry into America. No visas, no exceptions. Europe is calling it intimidation. Washington says it's self-defense. And just like that, US-EU relations have opened a brand new battleground, the internet itself. So what exactly happened? Let's break it down. On December 23rd, the US government made a surprise announcement. It banned 5 European nationals from entering the country. The official reason? Alleged censorship of American speech. And these weren't ordinary travelers. Among those banned was Thierry Breton, former European Commissioner for the Internal Market, and the chief architect of the EU's Digital Services Act, or DSA. The DSA is Europe's rulebook for regulating social media platforms, what can stay online, what comes down, and who decides. The other 4 individuals, high-profile anti-disinformation campaigners, deeply involved in Europe's digital governance system. Washington says these people crossed a line. The explanation came directly from the top. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio defended the move, accusing European officials of exporting censorship beyond their borders. In his words, and this is a direct quote, "For far too long, ideologues in Europe have led organized efforts to coerce American platforms to punish American viewpoints they oppose. The Trump administration will no longer tolerate these egregious acts of extraterritorial censorship." To enforce the ban, Rubio invoked the Immigration and Nationality Act, which allows the U.S. to deny entry to anyone whose presence could have serious adverse consequences for the country. Washington says this is about protecting American free speech, but Europe sees something very different. French President Emmanuel Macron called it coercion and warned it was an attack on European digital sovereignty. Germany called the move unacceptable. Spain called it censorship. The UK raised alarms because 2 of the banned individuals are British citizens. European leaders say retaliation is now on the table, diplomatic, economic, or both, not because they want a fight, but because they believe sovereignty itself is being challenged. And here's the key point. This didn't start last week. For over 6 months now, the US and Europe have been locked in a growing dispute over who controls the digital world. Earlier this month, Europe issued its first major penalty under the Digital Services Act, a $140 million fine on X, formerly Twitter. Europe insists the fine was about transparency failures, not speech moderation. But Elon Musk called it exactly what Washington is now calling it, censorship. He accused the European Union of weaponizing regulation to control narratives. Meanwhile, the US has already slapped 15% tariffs on European goods. Europe accepted the trade deal, but digital regulations were left unresolved. Washington wanted Europe to soften enforcement against American tech companies. Europe refused, and then came the visa bans. For years, American tech giants, Meta, Google, Amazon, Apple, operated like digital empires, setting their own rules. Europe's crackdown is its way of planting a flag, saying the digital space is no longer America's uncontested territory. So where does this go next? There are only 2 paths forward. 1, this turns into a digital Cold War. More fines, more bans, more retaliation, and growing distrust across the Atlantic. Or 2, a negotiated truce, where the US and EU attempt to strike a fragile balance between free speech and regulated speech. But make no mistake, this is no longer just a policy dispute. It's a fault line, a new divide in US-EU relations. The Atlantic Ocean is no longer the only thing separating them. Now the internet does too. If you want the facts, the context, and the stories shaping global power, stay with us.